everyone, it's Shadow the Rat, and in today's video I want to go ahead and show you my rat med kit. So this first aid kit is pretty much exactly what it sounds like. It's what I use when my rats have minimal health issues, or in the case of emergencies I might use it just to tie them over until I can get them to the vet. Of course, I do want to make the disclaimer that I am not a vet, and if your rat is experiencing some sort of medical issue, it's always a good idea to go to your vet instead of, trying to self-treat it. Most of the stuff I have here is, again, just to treat little things or just to tie them over until I can get them to the vet, so just keep that in mind while you're watching this. Okay, I hope you enjoy. Okay, so the first two things I have here are just kitchen scales, and these are great because they weigh in grams. And rats are such small creatures that you really want to have a scale that can weigh in grams just so you can be very accurate. When you're dosing them with medication, you need to be able to get very accurate, dosings. So I really like to use these scales for that, just weighing my rats. And of course, they're also great for just checking in, making sure your rats aren't gaining a lot of weight or losing a lot of weight. And it's especially good for ill or old rats because that way you can really keep tabs on them. You can kind of feel how they weigh when you're handling them, but it's just nice to have a precise way to do it, which is right here. So the next thing here is called a Snuggle Safe, and this is basically just a reusable microwavable heating pad. So you can see right here. This is great to have if you have an ill rat who can't really regulate their body temperature, because you can just put it partially under the cage, and that gives them the option of, going onto the heated area or going away from it. And it's really nice that it's reusable, so just in general, a really nice thing to have, just in case. Now the next thing I have is Cat Revolution. So, that one's not opened yet. It's getting everywhere. Okay, so Cat Revolution comes in these little bottles, and they're used to treat parasites on rats. So you can just use 1 drop per rat, or you can use the specific measurements. Your vet can give you those. And in the US, this is a prescription-only medicine. However, some vets will sell it over the counter, or you can get it off CanadaVet.com. That's how I got this one. And it's just really useful to have around because if your rats bring in parasites, then it's nice to be able to treat them. Personally, I now treat every new rat coming in for parasites just because it's not uncommon for them to have no symptoms. And then when you introduce them to your mischief, if any of your rats have a depressed immune system or for whatever reason they're more susceptible to mites, then, they'll start scratching and be really uncomfortable. And so I find it's just better to treat new rats right away. Of course, if they're coming from a good place, that's not really a big worry, but a lot of my rats have come from feeder bins and such, so there's a pretty big chance of them having some sort of parasite. Now we have this Vet Plus spray, and this is really great to have as well because it's really good for cleaning wounds. You can use it for bumblefoot, you can use it to clean up your rat's scratches or scrapes or anything like that. Usually rats, when they scratch themselves, they heal so fast that you don't really need to worry. But, for example, in the case of my girl Cream, where she had a tail injury and her tail almost degloved, which is when the skin comes off the bone. It didn't deglove, but it almost did. Anyways, I used this to treat her wound just to make sure it didn't get infected. And, of course, I had her on some other stuff as well. But this was really useful in that situation. And she healed up really well, so really nice to have. Okay, so here I have 2 more things. These are children's Motrin and infant Motrin. So this is just a pain reliever / anti-inflammatory, and you can get this from any supermarket. And this stuff is great because it is really effective at reducing inflammation for rats. Usually I use it when my rats sprain themselves because it reduces swelling within a few hours. It's amazing. And it also reduces their pain, of course, which is great. So yeah, I just like having these around because it's not as effective as maybe some of the anti-inflammatories or pain meds you can get from the vets. However, in a pinch, this is really good to have, and I like to keep some on hand at all times. Plus, if you get the wild berry flavor, rats are obsessed with this flavor. It's just amazing. So I don't even have to hide it in anything. They just love that flavor so much. Now, similarly to the children's Motrin, I also have Tylenol. Okay, so this is a little kit I picked up at Target a few years ago, or maybe last year, and it's really cheap. It's only a few bucks, but it has so much cool stuff in it. It has a bunch of gauze, it has some of that vet wrap stuff that you can wrap around. Just a bunch of awesome stuff, and I consider it to be just such a good deal that I didn't see any reason not to include it. You can't use some of the stuff, like you can't use the ointments, but you could use some of the instruments, you can use the wound dressings, and just in general, it's very useful. So yeah, I just like including this in there. Okay, so here I have some sterile saline solution. You can make your own saline solution, but I just have some of this on hand in case I need to flush my rat's wound right away for whatever reason. So yeah, just sterile saline. Oh, I also have this in here. I completely forgot about it. Blue Coat is known for treating bumblefoot. Here I have a bunch of disposable syringes. I just find that my vets never give me enough when I initially get medication, and so I like to have some backup. So there you go. Okay, so this is really important. This here is a guide to using a lot of these medications. It was posted by this one website that I can't remember the name of right now, but they took it down. I'm not sure why. It just gives you a very general idea, like some charts, so you don't have to do the calculations. If you just want to dose them right away, you can use one of these charts. And as far as I can tell, and as far as I've calculated, they're pretty accurate. So I'm not sure if they took it down because there was some pressure against them by some owners who were concerned that they might be advocating against vet care, which they weren't. They were just saying if you're not in a situation where you can get to a vet and you have certain medications, it's good to know how to use them and be able to just use them quickly. Anyways, I printed this out a long time ago, and it's actually come in handy quite a few times, so I'm glad I was able to print this out before they took it down. You can see it has dosages for a ton of different stuff. So, very useful. Okay, so here's something else I have. This is baby powder, soy infant baby powder. And the reason I have this is because not only is it good for mixing in medicines if you're trying to like trick your rat into not knowing it's there, because they tend to like the taste, but it's really good for sick rats, and it's much more nutritionally complete than something like Meat Baby Food or something like Ensure. This is much more nutritionally complete for rats than any of these. So if you're just feeding your rat solely liquid food, feeding these three things right here, it's not going to give them the nutrients they need. So you'll hear, especially with Ensure, that it's great for helping sick rats gain weight. And this is true. However, if your rat isn't eating anything else, they would need to consume an entire bottle, or more than an entire bottle, to get enough calories. So it's not practical. They can't drink this much liquid at once if they're sick. So it's better to have something like this, where you can just give them a little bowl of it, and you can mix it with Ensure to make it taste even better. You can mix it with Meat Baby Food. You can mix it with their lab blocks. It's just a really great thing to have around because it's, like I said, pretty nutritionally complete for them, and it's something they tend to really like the taste of. And of course I have a ton of these other things in there too. I have a lot of Ensure. I don't think I have the strawberry flavor right here. I do have it, I just don't have it in the kit right now. But they really like the strawberry flavor of this Pediasure, and I use it for giving medications, and so it's good to have around. Now something else that I have in this kit, and it's a little bit weird, I know, is I have some things for cutting their nails. This little human one, and also a sanding block. With older rats, they sometimes can't keep their nails trim, either because they're not moving around enough, or if they chew them, maybe they can't chew them off as well, or something like that. And anyways, their nails can grow too long, so if you have an older rat where their nails are starting to curl up, it's a good idea to be able to trim them, and that's what I have these for. These are really effective. I got them from PetSmart, and they're just called small animal clippers. They're super sharp, and they just cut through the rat's nail like butter, which this does not do nearly as good of a job on. So this is very useful to have around. And I've only used it a few times with older rats, but still useful to have. Now another thing I have in here are some towels. These are just to put on my lap when I'm giving the rats medications, especially with shy rats. That's really useful. So that's their main purpose, also to prevent me from making a mess. I also have some dark chocolate in here. It's known to be a bronchodilator, which is something I probably said wrong, but anyways, basically relaxes the throat so the rats can breathe easier if they're in respiratory distress. The problem is that they would need to eat a lot of dark chocolate in order for this to take effect, and a sick rat, or even a healthy rat, probably isn't going to be able to eat that much. But even so, they like dark chocolate, and when they're sick, you just kind of want them to eat, and since chocolate is fine for them, It just keeps them around to see if I can tempt them into eating if they're really not eating, if they're like really resisting food. It's good to have some sweet things that I know that they'll pretty much always go for. Okay, so the other thing I have in there is some coconut oil. It's the edible kind, and you can use this. You see, you can use this for rats with dry skin. They also really like the taste of it, so you can use it during intros and stuff like that. Okay, so this is going to be the one that's most controversial. So some of you might recognize this. It's from Lady Goldenfinch, which is a bird company. And this here is antibiotics. So these are what you use when your rats have like a respiratory infection or some sort of infection that can be treated by these types of antibiotics. And usually I wouldn't, dose the rats myself. So the main reason I have these antibiotics is in the case that I can't get to the vet right away. Anyways, I guess I'll go through this and just show you what's in here. This is their wellness package. First of all, they give you some syrup, vanilla flavored syrup. This is just to flavor the antibiotics. Personally, I have tried this myself and I don't think it's strong enough to flavor them. I've never tried it with my rats though, so it could be. I usually use the other things I showed you. And here we have some amoxicillin. This is the same thing as like fish mox. It's usually used for treating secondary infections, and it's not great against respiratory problems, but you sometimes see them use it when they're treating like abscesses. Yeah, this is useful. But the main stars of the show would be doxycycline, and Benadryl. And they also give you some other stuff like this little bird salad, which I'm not sure if the rats can eat it. I don't see why not, but I've never given it to them, so I'd have to look that up. And then finally they give you a syringe. Yay, a syringe. But anyways, these are probably the biggest things I keep in this kit. The Benadryl, the Doxy, and the Amox, and then of course some syringes. Like I said, don't usually use these myself, but I do find it's good to have some on backup, especially if your rats get sick at 3 in the morning, as they tend to do. And also in the weird case like mine, where they're out of the Benadryl at the vets. I have no idea why they were out of that, but they were, so. Okay, so there are a few other things I have in here. First I have Benadryl, which is an allergy medicine that rats can take. I've never needed to use this, but figured might as well keep it in there just in case. Next, I actually have a rescue asthma inhaler. I've used this a few times with Biscuit because she had some pretty bad respiratory attacks. This isn't really something you can get over the counter as far as I know, but I was given it by a family member who didn't need to use it, and it's valid for a few years, so figured I might as well use it on the rats instead of just throwing it away. So yeah, it's pretty useful. I used it on Biscuit, like I said. Use this little thing to put her nose in there so the mist gets to her. And yeah, it was great because she had some weird issues, man. But yeah, that's what I have. I have a few spoons. I don't know if you can still see. Okay, you can still see. I have a few spoons in there to help feed medicine. Oops, that came with that. Let's see. I have some Purell in here to clean my hands, although I usually just wash them because that's the better option. Okay, and here's the other big thing I have. Oh gosh, oh dear. This is a nebulizer. I'm not going to set it up. I'm not setting this up right now. Sorry. It's just a little bit insane. There's a nebulizer. This is a bunch of saline for it. You can see there's all the saline. I haven't used this in a long time, but this is a good way of giving rats who can't intake their medicine orally. This is a good way for giving them medication. Of course, your vet would need to give you the medication for it. The saline doesn't really do anything on its own. But yeah, I had to use this way back with my rat Sonic, so I still have it. Okay, so as you can see, that's pretty much it. There's a few items left. I guess I can go over them pretty quickly, but I think I've gone over all the big pieces. So, got some more wrapping right here, some more medical tape, some applesauce, which is just something else for me to mix medicine with. We got a thermometer, We got some of this stuff. I'm not sure if this actually works with rats. It's basically just some glucose packets. I had the idea that these would be helpful for a rat that was really ill. Not sure if I'll ever try those, but I have those in there. I have this. And this is to go with the saline solution. I have a ton more of the Ensure, more meat baby food, more soy infant baby food, and finally, the only other thing I have in here is some cornstarch, and that's to stop bleeding if I like nick their toenails while I'm cutting them or something like that. That's pretty much it. The only other thing I really have is I have Doxy in powder form as well, because that's how they used to sell it. I can show you the damage. Oh my god, I have to put all this back. Crud. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. See you later. Bye.